Hello everyone, thanks again for joining me on Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Well, you cannot do a series on Bonanza without addressing the old Sheba in the room, and that would be the Cartwright curse. Over 441 episodes, literally hundreds of ladies made their way through the Ponderosa and Nevada and Virginia City and California and anywhere a Cartwright might be, even Mexico. But they took their lives into their hands just by coming in contact with a Cartwright. So many people who are hardcore fans of the show are definitely familiar with this phenomenon. Some people who are new to the show or are more casual viewers might not know. So I'm just going to go through and show you a few pictures of some of the ladies that that made their way through the Ponderosa. These are just random relationships and random ladies who were death-defying because some of them did not leave the Ponderosa at all. There were very serious relationships with ladies, casual relationship with ladies. Here's Ben, with a lovely lady. There were very heartbreaking stories. The old Reagan Miller, which I've mentioned quite a few times. Haas with another young thing. They all wanted relationships wanted to get married, I'm sure, and have babies, but it just wasn't to be. Woman of Fire, Adam. And not only were they hard on adult women, but they are also hard on little kids, because I'm sure that Adam was far more upset about leaving Laura Dayton because he wouldn't be able to see Peggy. These two had a really wonderful relationship. So when I started researching this episode for the Cartwright Curse, I found it a little overwhelming. I thought, where do I start? How can I start this journey of this Cartwright Curse? And then thankfully, I found an article in Bonanza Gold magazine. I thought, what? Don't reincarnate the wheel. Somebody, Hunter, the writer of this article, has done the work for you. And I never reinvent the wheel. I'm lazy that way. And Hunter really spells out in very well the Cartwright curse. And he calls, or she calls, I'm not sure if Hunter is a man or a woman, this article, Don't Fall in Love with a Cartwright. Don't fall in love with a Cartwright. Anyway, I got to put my glasses on. I'm going to read you a few paragraphs of this article, which Hunter puts very succinctly. Sorry, I got to put my glasses on. I'm old. Perhaps the joke most commonly associated with Bonanza in the series' particular habit of having one of the Cartwrights fall in love with a beautiful woman and end up tragically heartbroken after the female guest's death at the end of the episode. Even among true fans of the series, the Cartwrights are famous for their uncanny ability to cause death to any woman they loved. It's true. It's crazy. But despite the series' somewhat inflated reputation for killing off Cartwright love interests, most of the women in question in reality simply left on the Ponderosa noon stage. That's true. Bonanza never failed to take the stories completely to heart. They go on to say, the don't fall in love with a Cartwright joke is probably most often associated with the thrice widowed Ben Cartwright of ladies' man Little Joe Cartwright, who almost single-handedly could have created the term kiss of death. However, the character with the most emotional, touching romances throughout the series was arguably big, lovable, adorable Haas, the gentle giant. True, Joe actually led the series a number of fatal romances, most notably perhaps the pitchfork death of in the Truckee strip. I remember this poor girl. Here she is. This poor woman died of a pitchfork to the gut. Wow. But Haas was, if nothing else, Bonanza's most tragic character. While Joe had a bit of reputation among the women, Haas was more shy, sympathetic character, getting along with and more likely to spend time with animals. He says, animals, as he stated early in the series, don't have a mean streak in them. Well, that's true. I don't know if you're comparing women with animals. I'm not sure. On rare occasions in which Haas did happen to get involved with a member of the opposite sex, he usually wound up abandoned or terribly hurt. That's right. I guess the most notable romance for Haas was very early on in the series in an episode called The Newcomers, where he fell in love with a young lady named Emily. And Emily had a terminal disease. Oh dear. So, unbeknownst to Haas, he fell in love with her anyway, and she died. It was just so heartbreaking. And then in later episodes, he refers to this woman that he was in love with her. So, yes, very tragic relationships for Haas. There was Helen Layton. Here she is. Helen Layton, look at Haas's face. Helen Layton was a gambler, and she got involved with Haas because she wanted his money. She was, she needed a stake, and Haas was gullible enough to fall for it. But Adam and Joe ended up setting up a game and let Haas find her gambling. And apparently Adam and little Joe took the brunt of Haas's heartbreak, because he beat the crap out of both his brothers after that happened, that episode. And he did it again in She Walks in Beauty. Whenever he gets his heart broken, he seems to take it out on his brothers. But most notably, the most heartbreaking kiss of death was to little Joe's wife, Alice. Poor Alice. Now, this episode was meant to be for Haas, but unfortunately Dan passed away before it was filmed, so it went to little Joe. And poor Alice actually married little Joe. Wow, talk about living dangerously. She ended up with child. Yahoo! Finally, a grandchild for Ben. And nope, not meant to be. Sorry. She was murdered and burnt their house down. And that was just heart-wrenching. We all thought, finally, the curse will be broken. But not meant to be. So let me know your tales about the Cartwright curse, and any of the ladies who either went scathed or unscathed through the Ponderosa. It's a terrible thing, the Cartwright curse. So just be careful. If you see anybody, if you see any of the Cartwrights, don't talk to them. Don't go near them. Don't step onto the Ponderosa. Don't do any of those things, because you're putting your life at risk. See you next time on Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza.